Friends, and welcome back to our brand new video. And today I'm reading Pete the Cat Goes Camping. So let's get straight into this book. Pete the Cat Goes Camping. Pete is going camping with his family. This is his first camping trip. He can't wait. Camping sounds groovy. Pete and his brother Bob pack the car. They bring food, flashlights, fishing poles, and tents. Don't forget the sleeping bags, says Dad. He hands them to Pete. It's a long drive to the campsite. Finally, they arrive. Pete's mom and dad set up the tents. Pete and Bob go deep into the woods. They collect sticks to make a campfire. Pete and Bob decide to go for a hike. Bob shows Pete the footprints of all the animals who live in the forest. They see bear tracks and deer tracks. One of the tracks looks like it belongs to a raccoon. Just then, a bunny hops past. He leaves another set of tracks in the dirt. Pete looks at a big footprint. Far out, he says. Look how big this is, Bob. Bob bends down. I don't know what animal made that, he says, but I bet it's not something we want to run into. Bob and Pete make their way back to the campsite. Their dad is waiting for them. Come on, boys, he says. It's time to catch our dinner. Pete's dad holds up a fishing rod. Who wants to try? Bob doesn't like fishing. He stays at the campsite to get the fire going. Pete wants to try. He and his dad go to the lake. They have to be very quiet so they don't scare away the fish. Finally, Pete feels something tug on his line. He caught something. Pete and his dad bring their catch back to the campsite. That was awesome, Pete says. Look what I caught. Pete's mom takes the fish from him. She cleans it and cooks it over the campfire. It's delicious. Great job, Pete. After dinner, Pete and his family gather on the fire to keep warm. It's getting dark out. Pete looks up at the sky. He's never seen so many stars before. How about a story? Pete's dad asks. Bob jumps up. I've got one, he shouts. Bob tells Pete and his parents about the big hairy giant who lives in the woods. Every night he prowls the campsites looking for snacks. Bob says, in the morning all that is left are crumbs and giant footprints. In fact, his feet are so big that he's called Bigfoot. Groovy story, Bob, Pete's mom says. And speaking of snacks, who wants s'mores? Pete's dad gives everyone a stick to toast marshmallows on. Pete's mom hands out a graham crackers and chocolate. Soon, everyone is enjoying a yummy dessert. Pete can't stop thinking about Bob's story. What if Bigfoot's real? Don't let Bob scare you, Pete's mom says. No one has ever seen Bigfoot. But if he's real, Pete's dad asks, giving Pete another marshmallow, I bet he's friendly. And I bet he likes s'mores. That gives Pete an idea. He decides to make a s'more for Bigfoot. That way, if he does come, he'll have a tasty snack. Soon it's time for bed. Pete's dad puts out the fire, and Pete and Bob head to their tent. Pete snuggles into his sleeping bag. It's warm and cozy, but he can't sleep. The woods seem extra dark, and all the forest sounds extra loud. Suddenly, Pete hears a weird swooshing sound. He sits up and looks around. Bob, Pete says, what is that? Bob opens one eye and listens closely. It's just the wind, he says finally. Pete still can't sleep. He hears a strange hooting sound. It's just an owl, Bob says. That makes Pete think of his friend Owl. He starts to feel better, but then he hears a chirping sound. It's just the crickets, Bob says. Go to bed, Pete. Pete puts his pillow over his head. Maybe he can hide from the noises. Crack. Pete sits up again. Bob, did you hear that? He asks, but Bob is fast asleep. Pete hears another crack. He listens carefully. Is it Bigfoot? Pete opens the tent and looks around, but it's too dark to see anything. The next morning, Pete is the first one up. He rushes outside and looks around. He doesn't see any broken branches. There aren't any footprints. Then Pete sees the table. The s'mores he left for Bigfoot is gone. In its place is a note. Thanks for the treat. XOXO. It's stamped with the biggest footprint Pete has ever seen. Pete shows the note to his family. I knew Bigfoot was real, Bob shouts. Pete smiles. He now knows that Bigfoot isn't scary. Just because he looks different doesn't mean Pete should be afraid of him. Pete starts looking for sticks. He can't wait to make another s'more for his groovy new friend, Bigfoot. Okay guys, we have reached the end of the book. So one question. Do you guys think that Bigfoot's actually real? Because we're still not 100% sure. All we know is that there's a note and no other evidence. Could his mom or dad have done it? So leave a comment in the comment section down below. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give a thumbs up, and I hope to see you next time. Bye guys.